What's going on, family? How is everybody doing? Get your libations. Get whatever you need to get through the pandemic. The pandemic is upon us. A lot of stuff we don't know. We know that like a lot more people might have been infected than we thought before. But we also know that you gotta distance those people. But we also know that a bunch of people may be dying at home by stuff called blood clots and pulmonary embolisms and heart attacks that might not even be considered COVID. So we got, that's just the COVID update for today. But please, fam, hit that like button. Now that you're in here, please hit that like button. Please do that for me. Please share this video. Please share this. I would appreciate it if you would share. Please hit that bell. If you have not hit that bell, please hit that bell for me. That would be wonderful. If you could hit the bell, that would be wonderful. I would appreciate it as always. Also, fam, you can also go as usual, fam. You can go to subscribetobrown.com. You can go to subscribetobrown.com and hand me your email. And that would be beneficial to me as well. I promise I do not spam you. I have been sending out the newsletter though as of late, but I do not spam, fam. So please do those things for me. If you want to donate or you're in a position to donate, donatebrown.com as usual. But listen, you can hit that bell, cost you no money. You can hit subscribe. You haven't already subscribed, cost you nothing. And you can hit like when you come in and it costs you nothing. Totally free. Absolutely free. So, fam, please do all that good stuff for me. Now, we're not going to stay in very long or too long. We're going to try to get some calls in here. And people, please make the calls. Like, when we get to the calls, we had some cohesive calls. And we have had some cohesive calls of late, some real good calls. I just like to reiterate this because when I don't reiterate it, bad things happen. Now, let's get to it. Sometimes I answer the criticism. Let's just start there. And one of the criticisms, I don't know whether these are from new people or whatever, but one of the criticisms that tend to pop up for us, for me, for everybody, fam, is the criticism that you pick on black celebrities, you're picking on Diddy. Y'all have talked about him a lot. You've been picking on wannabe celebrities. So you're picking on Jay Morrison while you keep picking on him. And I saw a couple of those comments in the comment section, and I saw a few of those comments elsewhere. And I said, well, let me just kind of slow down in a sense of let me not just assume everybody is a day one listener. Now, I'm not going to go back through everything and go rehash everything because that's unfair to the people who have been here. But I want to just kind of paint a picture. For those who are saying, well, you've been far too hard on these people. They go through a lot and they're trying to help. They're trying to do charity and they have raised some money for charity and they're doing good things. Here's the thing. I don't have any issue with that per se. Now I have my quibbles, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to deal in generals right now. I don't have any particular issue necessarily with that. I don't have any kind of issue of saying that Diddy can't do charity. Listen, if he had come out and just said, I'm going to do some charity stuff, not the revolt thing we saw, not the other stuff we saw about, we got to save ourselves and ain't nobody coming to rescue us. If he just said, I'm going to do a celebrity thing, I'm going to do a celebrity dance off or whatever, I may have had some problem because you're supposed to be a businessman and you always talk about business. See, the thing is, when people talk a lot, I have a different kind of expectation. When you are always not moving in silence, but when you are always throwing yourself in front of everything as an example of black excellence, of an example of what Negroes can become, as an example of black ownership. When you go to the Grammys and you tell the Grammys you have not been fair to us and you've never respected black music and it's time for ownership and it's a new day, and what's been happening to black people in music, and what's happening in music is what's happening in sports, and some things is going to change around here. When you go and play Miss Sophia, Lord, I set up in that jail. When you get over here and say some things is going to change around here and pass the peas, then that's kind of what I expect. right? You have put yourself out here as this kind of outsized figure. You are not even kind of moving in silence as the dude. What was the dude who gave the money to the Morehouse? I can't remember his name, but you remember the name. I didn't even know who. Well, I knew who he was because I read an article about it. But most people didn't even know who he was when he gave the money. I'm not saying he's good or bad or indifferent. I'm just saying that you always throw yourself in front of the camera as this example of black excellence and what you can do and what can be done. And then you just did some stuff that led everybody to believe that you were on a revolutionary path. You did the Comcast thing with Byron. You talked during the Grammy. So I have a different expectation. You're a very vocal person. So let's just go back a second. So when you say this, the color of COVID, when you say this, if we just review for one moment, when you say African Americans helped to build this country and make this country great, we don't deserve to be in this position. Let's not wait on anybody to save us. Let's use this as a reset. Then I have problems. This is not just you doing charity. This is you saying we're going to save ourselves and we're going to use this as a reset. Not to mention, you also had, now I'm not saying there wasn't a doctor and there was some decent people on there and the Killer Mike wasn't on there and the doctor who was there, I think was epidemiologist. I'm not saying there was nothing gained from this. But you also allow Fat Joe. I don't ever want to hear from Fat Joe. See, part of what you're doing is like you're trying to influence the culture and make these people important to the culture and do it for the culture. But I don't need Fat Joe in the culture. See, you allow people to say some really kind of demeaning and disrespectful stuff. And I don't even know what he means. Our youth are acting very ignorant. They don't care about their parents, grandparents, or their neighbors. See, you also can't tell me that, Fat Joe, when part of the reason they don't care about stuff, and I'm not even saying they don't care. America has this kind of America breeds this kind of wild individualism in everybody. But let me just say this. If you have helped make our kids ignorant, you can't tell me that our kids are ignorant. If your life is built on this kind of thing that you do, Fat Joe, like, you can't come here and say, well, I've been saying some ignorant stuff, but I don't know why these kids is acting this way. You can't tell me that. You can't bring this man here to tell me that. I don't know who's still listening or checking for Fat Joe like that. Maybe I'm just old. Is people really checking for Fat Joe and what he got to say? And that's disrespectful because we haven't even done any kind of data on like how much of this is coming back to parents from the kids. And we used to think that, it was one way and it's another way. We don't even know. The only thing we know is that we are suffering disproportionately as ADOS because of this disease. We don't know even if what he's saying is true. And even if when you look at how we're suffering disproportionately, that comes back to a lot of these comorbidities that we have, these underlying health conditions. We're going to talk about those in a minute because a lot of those stem from systemic problems, multi-generational oppression. So that's the problem that I have. It's not a personal problem. I don't know the man. I met Diddy one time in college. I don't know this man. I don't know enough to have like a personal beef with anybody, but you always throw yourself out here. And then when you throw yourself out here and say stuff like this and it's just wrong, it sets the wrong tone. I don't want to set a tone where I'm telling people I said some of this already. But even this tone from BET was the same way, the saving ourselves. At that point, it doesn't even matter what you say. See, language is important. If you don't understand anything else, if you read books or you read poetry or you read whatever, language is important. Right? Language is very important. How we talk about things absolutely matters. And if you're going to talk about it in a way, if you name something, we're going to have to save ourselves or saving ourselves or nobody's going to come and save us. Once you cast that light on it, it makes us let government off the hook. Once you say that, it's not about you, Diddy. It's about letting government off the hook. You can't keep saying stuff that let government off the hook. Government has to be on the hook because government is on the hook for everybody else. Government has to be on the hook for reparations. Government has to be on the hook for why we have these comorbidities that lead to us having a suffering disproportionately from this COVID. Government has to be on the hook. And so if anybody says anything that takes government off the hook, I have a problem. And I especially have a problem if you're the one always taking the microphone. If you're the one always grabbing the microphone and you want to talk, I want to talk, and everybody had a problem. You said something on your Instagram, well, if God don't, and God, when we done right, God gonna take it. And it was just real weird, but you've always been weird and mystic like that. And you've been rich a long time, so I expect that maybe you lost something in terms of being out of touch. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about there has to be a sort of correction of you when you say something like that. It's not personal. See, and here's another problem. Another problem is this. It's almost like, I can touch my face, I wash my hands, but it's almost like people talk to us. When I say us, I mean ADOS specifically, and even Black America in general, people outside of ADOS, when people talk to us in a specific way, that's almost like how you talk to children. So, okay, Yvette, what do you mean? Why do you think Diddy's talking to us like kids? Well, he just says we got to save ourselves, because it's an unserious way to talk to people. But let me just talk to you a little bit about what Diddy's mentor is saying right now. So, okay, let's talk about the billionaire Ray Dalio. That's the chart Antonio uses you seen the chart Antonio uses about the gap and how it's coming back together, and how this moment is different in terms of the convergence and divergence. That's his chart. So this man makes about, $2 billion a year. He was a hedge fund guy, and apparently he is Diddy's mentor. Now, I don't know whether or not this is true or false, but that's what came out 4 months ago. You don't have to listen to the conversation. I already did. It was a bunch of mostly generalities that, they weren't deep. And I'm sure that's not how he actually made his money. People who make money always have a way of telling people little stuff that don't matter. Well, you just got to find good people. Oh, you didn't make your money by just putting good people around. Just part of it. That's icing on a cake. That's not how that works. But I'm not going to get into that. My point is, you have a mentor who's a billionaire. Now, I don't really have any issues with any of that. I just want to contrast how this man who is your mentor is talking to people versus how you are talking to people, versus the conversation that you're having. It's a serious conversation versus a conversation that's meant for children in a certain way. It's a policy conversation versus a kind of condescending conversation, even if you don't mean it to be that way. So let's just take a quick look, see some of the stuff that our hedge fund mentor to Diddy is saying to people, right? What is he saying to people? Economic recovery will require lessening of the wealth gap, says hedge fund titan. Well, wait a minute, that's talking about actual policy. So you are being serious when you talk to people. Now, he's not talking about the racial wealth gap. You and I know that reparations is owed. He's talking about something more general in terms of the haves and haves not, kind of what Thomas Piketty talks about in terms of this being, in terms of inequality, historic, worse than the world has ever known in terms of inequality. He's talking about that in a general way, but there's still a very serious way to talk about the moment that we're in. So let's just see some of what he said. Hold on 1 second for me. Ray Dalio is known for making lucrative predictions. His hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates, is the largest in the world. But Dalio, a billionaire himself and one of the world's most successful investors, says capitalism is broken. I've never heard Diddy say capitalism is broken. I've never heard that. Even before the coronavirus pandemic hit, Dalio had warned that the wealth gap represented a national emergency. The outbreak, he says, is only exacerbating disparities between rich and poor. Now, I'm just going to take that off for just 1 second because I just want to point to something. He's talking about inequalities between rich and poor. And see, the thing is, Diddy's rich and he's talking about what's better than one billionaire, two, and I'm a billionaire. Well, if you're a billionaire, and that's what I didn't say it, I don't necessarily believe it. But if that's what you say, I'm going to take you at your word. That's supposed to mean a degree of freedom to tell the truth about stuff. But it's kind of interesting to me to contrast the conversation that your mentor, in your words, is having versus the conversation that you are not having. He's having a conversation about inequality and what needs to happen and what policy needs to happen. And you're having a conversation about we got to save ourselves. And we're the bottom cats. We're the worst off. He's talking to everybody and saying like, yeah, capitalism is broken. You're talking to us and telling us to go save ourselves. Now, do you see why I use Diddy as a lens for kind of the vapidness that exists in black celebrity and the inability to really go hard and do what needs to be done, even though you project yourself as someone who's perfectly capable of doing that. So let's go to another Dahlia quote. Just see what he has to say. He says, we will have ahead of us the question of who's going to pay the bills and how will we redefine things, he says, adding that solutions will necessitate a lessening of the wealth gap. Now, we said that. Now, let's go to this one. He says that the UBI, Universal Basic Income, even, I don't agree with that. But he says that's here because that's what we're doing with the pandemic. So it's out. He said that is it upon us. We're giving people money, right, to pay for stuff. That's what we're doing right now. And the questioner at NPR just says, oh, you mean now with the pandemic, people getting checks in the mail? Right. And it won't be adequate. And the only question is how long it lasts. How long should it last? It has to last long enough that there's subsistence. It's the quick and easy way for getting a certain amount of purchasing power in the hands of those people. And of course, it's a transfer of wealth. And that should exist. A transfer of wealth, and that should exist. And I think there's a wonderful opportunity here if we can operate well to restructure the system, restructure the way the system is working in a way to increase the size and pie and divide it well. Increase the size of the pie and divide it well. Increase the size of the pie. Now you got to pay the debt first, according to me. You know that's the truth. The debt is the debt. But then increase the size of the pie and divide it well. Now we're having a policy conversation. The man who you say is your mentor, Diddy, is having a policy conversation. He is talking about wealth and income inequality. Meanwhile, you run around telling us we got to save ourselves. Now, he's a white billionaire. And he's saying, yeah, this stuff is broken. Capitalism is broken. That's the billionaire talk. It's not me. He said that. I didn't say nothing. He said that. He got all the money. He said that. Now, you are a member of a bottom caste. Understand. Let me just frame this for everybody. Diddy is a member of a bottom caste group. He is telling us ain't nobody gonna come save us. Him. Dio is a billionaire. Whatever his name, however you pronounce it. Billionaire. And he's saying, nah, you gotta have a different kind of redistribution of wealth. You gotta, this income inequality is messing everything up. You got to give people money. You got to give people subsistence money. That was, understand, like, how am I getting more truth from your billionaire white mentor that I'm getting from you? And I'm looking at you and thinking like, well, he's a black man. So if he say save ourselves, then that's what we got to do. But your mentor, your white, this mentor is telling more truth than you. Not only is he telling more truth, you know what he's really doing? If you want to know the truth, you know what he's really doing? He's more serious than you. You're not a serious thinker. And I don't mean that in the sense of capacity. But like, I see a lot of these celebrities who don't access information about income equality, wealth inequality, reparations and what was taken from us. you have to be if you want to be in this space, you have to move to be like a serious thinker in this space. You have to. And he has some other stuff to say in another interview. Like I'm just pointing out the difference in terms of like how one groups get spoken to, like with seriousness and what that means, and another group says, well, ain't nobody coming. Your mentor says, Diddy, that they gotta come. That there has to be a restructuring. What are you talking about? Do you listen to your mentor, or you just make YouTube videos with him? I'm just trying to figure this out. So this is something else he said. It says, but Ray Dalio, founder of the hedge fund Bridgewater Associates, believes the current predicament, this is something else. He could be right or wrong, but I'm just saying these are serious prognostications and predictions. Believes the current predicament coinciding with China's economic rise and an increasingly shaky West could mark an even deeper change. He predicts the beginning of the end of the dollar as the world's reserve currency, and with it, the United States' economic dominance. Well, that's a big deal. Now, I don't know whether that's true or whether that's going to be false. I don't know how this all pans out in the end in terms of the dollar and the currency. That's not my forte. What I'm telling you, though, is that is a serious conversation. And if that's true, that changes everything as well. That creates an even more precarious situation. Also explains part of why the government is in such a rush to get back to work and to get the economy back going. Because China, conversations have to be had. These are the conversations that if you are going to talk to the ADOS community, if you're going to talk to us, these are the kinds of conversations, because what we need to know is what the landmines are. What is this? What are we going to go through specifically? What should we advocate for? What does the international climate look like? If that's going to change, it's usually going to make stuff worse off for us. If it's going to change for the worse, we need to be having those conversations. And I don't know, this is just me talking. I don't know how helpful you are as a black celebrity if you aren't having those conversations. See, this whole thing where you just tell me that we're going to have to save ourselves and ain't nobody going to come, that's some lazy mess. Because see, here's the problem. Here's the real problem. Let me just go to really quick what the real problem is for me. Or should I say just one of the real problems? Because there are a few real problems. See, a lot of these people like to just position themselves as like everybody want to talk about how these people are great business people, right? Like everybody wants to have that conversation until it's time to talk business. Okay, you're a great business person. Talk to me about what the SBA should be. Forget even about the policy. That's what Dahlia was talking about. Okay, you don't know about that. You should, because you talk too much not to know stuff. If you're going to talk as much as you talk, read something, know something. Don't just be in your pajamas talking to me. I don't need to see no underdressed Negro in the morning if he ain't got nothing to say. If you're going to be in your pajamas, you better have something to say. If you're going to be in your pajamas with a gray beard, you better have something to say. Don't be telling me no mystical, weird stuff. It's traumatizing in the morning to hear some stuff like that. You up for no reason. Go back to bed. But what I'm saying is this. We got a lot of people who talk business. They have been celebrated as business people. These people are business people. Yvette, you don't understand. They know business. That's what I keep getting told. I keep getting told by everybody. Everybody from pimps to charlatan that I'm dusty musty and these people know business. Well, I just don't understand why if you know business, you're not here talking to me about business right now. We talking about they got another, y'all saw it. They said they're coming out with some more stuff for the SBA, right? They got some more money coming out for small businesses, right? Because the other one, the big business ate it up and chomped it up. Like it wasn't nobody's business. Minutia came out there. We're gonna have something to say about the people who don't meet the. Shut up, Minutia, and go back to bed. Everybody, all y'all need to go back. But what I'm saying is, we got some more money coming. All these black business people, from Diddy all the way down to Boyce, ain't saying nothing about, okay, What should this look like? Diddy, you ran bad, boy. You got a whole bunch of stuff. I done seen a whole bunch of shows with your offices. I done seen you in this interview. Sean Diddy Combs credits his success to a business lesson he learned at age 12. He said, for all y'all, don't go Google it. He said he put newspapers in the screen doors of the elderly, and that was the kind of care, that made him better than the last paper boy. Fine. You know business. Right? If you know business, this is the moment. I'm telling you, everybody, all these people, let me see if I can find another one. All these people have been telling us for however long that they know business and that they business peoples. And all over a sudden this stuff goes down, and I don't know who know business, because ain't nobody talking about it. Oprah, I was told you know business too. And you doing charity, and that's fine. But I don't understand why there's no conversation about the black business people who, we got a few we don't have a lot of black businesses, nominal, and they don't really have no wealth, but how do they keep their doors open? Where is the advocacy for them? I saw you on Twitter and you was drinking and cooking. But I'm just saying, I appreciate charity. But if everybody has been touting you for years as this great business person, where is the business? Where are the business workshops? Where are the business conversations? Where are the SBA? I mean, if you listen, if these people are really business people, I'm talking about everybody from Boyce to Jay Morrison, because people are like, well, what Jay Morrison got to do? He's still doing corner classes. This Negro runs a multi-million-dollar fund, and he's still running around doing corner classes. He just got to be seen. But if we're at a space, if we're in a place where we're trying to keep black business open, the few that do exist, we're trying to keep them open. I don't understand why the people who have been touted for years as our business leaders, and the people who have they have a great mind for business. I couldn't pull up all the articles. I thought about doing that today. I was like, this is going to be too many articles of all the articles that touted Oprah and Diddy and all these people and all these knuckleheads saying, boys, he know business. Where are all these people? They could do a round table. They could do a seminar or something on like, here's what we need to look for. They could go and lobby. You know what it would look like for Oprah to lobby for black business or Diddy? So wait. You're not going to do no policy for ADOS in general. You're not going to advocate for that, for just ADOS. And then you're not going, during a pandemic where businesses are being hurt, especially black businesses, you're not going to advocate for them either? You just going to talk charity in this moment? See, that's my problem. That's my problem. I don't need to see you in your kitchen. I don't care about your kitchen. The spaghetti look dry. I don't know. I just know that we've heard, and you didn't stop. Like, it's not like these people say, no, I don't want to be talking about that. I don't want to be talking about the business. That's not what I want to do. But let me just say this real quick. Let me see if I can find it. There are times when they do want to talk about business, right? So we saw all these battles. Remember the other day I came on, I said, when's the babyface battle gonna be over? Babyface and who was it with Teddy Riley? Teddy Riley's beard was too black. I stick on that. I stand on that. I don't know what that was. Y'all gotta stop using that, whatever y'all put in y'all's beards. It's too much. So they battle, right? Everybody been battling for free on Instagram, just trying to keep people's spirits up or whatever. Fine. Then you see this, Timberland and Swiss Beats. Hold on. Swiss Beats. I always hated that. Swiss Beats. Swiss Beats says the battle of this magnitude between Dr. Dre and Puff Daddy should be a bigger venue than Instagram, stating that they need to do a pay-per-view. Now, he came back after that and tried to clean it up. I wasn't talking about them getting no monies. I was talking about pay-per-view for the crisis. You a story and you a lie and the truth ain't in you, like the old people say. You wasn't talking about that. You was talking about, see, everybody's got to understand What these people do a lot of the time is that and politicians do this a lot. It's not just them. They send up little weather balloons, right? So you'll send Swiss beats out if you are, Dre, or if you are Diddy, and say, throw this out there and see how people feel. See what the energy is like about this pay-per-view. And they'll send it out and see if people say, oh yeah, I'm with it, I'm gonna do it. But people was like, nah. And so Swiss Beats came out. No, I meant the money would go for the crisis. That's what I'm saying. That's not what you said in your Instagram when you was talking to Timberland. That's not what you said at all. You was talking about a pay-per-view for 2 Negroes to play old songs. So all of a sudden now we're talking about business again because you were trying to do a pay-per-view for y'all to play battle over old songs. That's what we supposed to do? Nah, go on Instagram like everybody else. Y'all ain't special. You're not special. Ain't nobody paying for that. I can go on YouTube any day of the week and hear you and put together my own playlist. I don't need you being there like, take that. Yeah, take that. I don't need that. Who needs that? It's fun if you can get them to do it. But people like, see this. Let me say, the problem for me is that these are the people that always mess everything up. You be having fun somewhere, enjoying yourself, enjoying your life. Everybody doing stuff that's free, don't cost no money. Everybody having fun. And all of a sudden you show up and you want to get paid. Gosh. Negro, everybody else did. Babyface did it for free. If I'm honest, I like his catalog better than yours sometimes. But no, I'm just saying. Don't get mad. I'm just saying. I like a nice ballad. So that didn't work. That backfired because everybody's at home, either at home or doing essential jobs, insecure. Ain't nobody finna pay for that. Just do it like you've been doing it. If you want to give money or give a donation, give some of your own money. How about that? So people can do business sometime, but they just can't do business all the time. It really is something. I will tell you it is something. Let me get this out of here. Hold on a second. Get this shot out of here. The other thing I want to point to, and not just when they do business and how they do it. The other thing I want to point to is whether we understand it or not, the people who are criticizing Yvette's always going to celebrities like she has some kind of axe to grind. Shut up. Like, because we have to understand, or we have to get people to understand on some level. When we talk about comorbidities, when we talk about hypertension, when we talk about, I have hypertension. I'm not overweight. I eat right. I work out 6 days a week. Like, we have to understand. I don't know if we know everything there is to know about it. Maybe it's because some of these people get on my nerves and make my hypertension wrong. But like, the other thing we have to understand is like where this comes from. So if you can't have a conversation about how, and this is from the CDC, about how systemic oppression impacts our health, you certainly can't get on and say, like Charles Barkley, well, we just gotta, we gotta lose weight. Or like Diddy, well, we just gotta save ourselves. See, we didn't do this to ourselves. I don't care whether you're talking about food deserts. I don't care whether you're talking about, hold on a second. Whether you're talking about infant mortality, because there's some good stats on that too. Right? We have third world stats in terms of Black America in terms of like babies and a life or death crisis. That is not something that we do. That is something that was done to us. And so when you say stuff, the language, if you don't take anything away from this show today, please take away the fact that the language that people use, the language that we use too, the language is important. The language is everything in terms of how you cast this. If you call a show Saving Ourselves, if you call it Ain't Nobody Gonna Come Save Us, that language is horrible because it positions people not to worry about why America's Black mothers and babies are in a life or death crisis, and understand when you read that article, just Google it. Because what it says is, let me just bring it up a little bit bigger so you can see. Hold on. It says the answer to the disparity in death rates has everything to do with the lived experience of being a black woman in America. And I would say the lived experience of being black. Like the woman who called in the other night. If you're a black woman, you go to a hospital, they're going to assume, like, that was a great article, Tracy McMillan Cotton, which basically said that, like, she's a professor. She has insurance, all the stuff, everything right. And they still assumed like she was like a ghetto queen or some stuff. And even if she was, that don't make you no excuse to treat her no different than you treat nobody else. But you do everything right and you still black in America. This is where we are. This is where we are, and this is what we live through. And if you can find that article by her, do find it. I brought it up on here once before, but it's a good article about, losing a child and like why that actually happened. And like how people didn't take her seriously. And being mistreated in the healthcare system. That wasn't anything that she did. So you have to be very careful. Hold on, I'm trying to pull something up real quick. You have to be very careful about language. And how you use language. And this is that Dalio chart that Antonio uses all the time. That talks about the current black psyche based on time on the time of wealth sharing versus the common reality, the coming reality. The green line share of U.S. wealth held by 0.1%. Red line share of U.S. wealth held by bottom 80%. Like this is the chart of Diddy's mentor. So like, how is that your mentor, but you don't understand enough to really talk to us about how we're not going to be the ones to save ourselves? Maybe you should familiarize yourself with some of his charts and some of his other work. Maybe. I mean, you have to have improvement at some point. You can't just stay the same. Because what you're telling us doesn't benefit us. Listen, like I said, if he just come out and done I'm just going to do a charity thing, and he wasn't a person who talked a lot and wasn't around a lot and throw himself on Instagram a lot, and he kind of was a guy who was under the scenes, I'd be like, go ahead and do your charity thing. I don't even barely know you like that, but that's not who you are. You make a name for yourself by being something else. And then you come on and say, we're going to save ourselves. If you were somebody else, if you were another black celebrity doing this, it wouldn't be the same for me. But you couch everything that you do into this kind of, for the lack of a better word, you couch everything that you do in this do for self thing. And that's a problem for me. And you've always had this level of narcissism where you want to be seen. That's fine, but there's a level of responsibility that comes with that. You can't throw that individualistic junk out there to us if you're going to be in the forefront. You can't speak about government as if it doesn't matter if you're going to be in the forefront. If you really believe that, you should probably just kind of stay in the back, like the dude who did the Morehouse thing. We didn't know him. He didn't talk. We probably don't agree with nothing he believes, but he knows enough to get somewhere and not talk a lot and move quietly. Doesn't mean I agree with him. Doesn't mean I wouldn't roast him too. But like, I don't know enough to do that because he's not moving like you. You talk and you don't know. You don't even know that your mentor ain't on the same page as you. Don't make no sense. Don't make no sense. And while we're talking about disparities and the like, let's just go through. We put this one up. I think we put this one up? Let me see if we did. Hold on. Just to kind of put this in the perspective of the leading causes of death for African Americans. And this is 1999 to 2015. You see that heart disease there. I think you see cancer right there. You see stroke right there. Now that's some stuff. Ain't that something? These are the comorbidities that they're talking about. And if you want to know, well, why? I don't understand why ADOS has these comorbidities. Well, there are a few good answers to that. There are a few good answers to that. But a couple of them were in the Washington Post. 4 reasons coronavirus is hitting Black communities so hard. And let's just go through them one by one quickly. Quickly, can we? Higher rates of underlying health conditions and less access to health care. So what happens if you have health conditions and you don't have access to health care? So those things just tend to get worse over time. I remember somebody told me, I said, what happens if you have high blood pressure and it's not treated? And the doctor told me, it just blows your kidneys out and you need dialysis. I said, well, that's unfortunate. And he said, well, it's a silent killer. You don't necessarily feel anything when you have high blood pressure and it's untreated. You just live your life until you realize that your kidneys aren't functioning. Data has long shown that Black Americans have higher rates of hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, and lung disease. You might as well just say everything. Don't even say one thing. Just say Black people have everything. And we're talking majoritively ADOS. Black Americans hold a lot of essential jobs. So it's not just that the kids, Fat Joe, that the kids are just don't care about their grandparents and the kids are killing their parents and grandparents because they stupid and listen to your little lean back music. No, that's not it. Big Joe, whatever, Big Joe, Portly Joe. Black Americans hold a lot of the essential jobs. Black people are more likely to work in jobs that put workers in close contact with others who might be in poor health, that make engaging in social distancing more difficult. Yep. They say insufficient information. Keisha Grant, a political science professor at Howard University, focuses on Black voters' relationship with state and local government. She says poor information. She says poor information from government leaders has shaped Black people's experience to coronavirus. That's partially true because my congressperson called here babbling, and it was weird. It was just weird. We'll talk about that another time. Housing disparities. Yvette Gavin, a principal investigator for the Conservative Law Foundation's Healthy Neighborhood Study, told The Fix that racial disparities in housing put Black lives at much greater risk for contracting illness. Her organization attempts to better understand and address the effects of neighborhood change on health in the Boston metropolitan area. And we already know what that looks like. But let me just say this too. When you say nobody's going to save us, like when somebody says something like that before I end, the first thing I think of is Flint. It's just the first thing that pops in my head. Because what we know now, or what is alleged, and I mentioned this a little bit, I think the last show, your Democratic governor said they have Flint fatigue. They don't even want to deal with Flint no more. The Republican governor apparently allegedly knew about the poisoning of the community, right? But you can't do for self new pipes that take lead out of the water. You can't do for self an entire infrastructure and plumbing. We see that with hookworm in Loudon, Alabama. You can't do for self what government is supposed to do. Government has a role to play. It's a very big role. And only government has the money, the budget, I should say, because it's not even money. Only government has the budget to do what needs to be done in terms of totally, redo all of those pipes where the lead's leaking out and causing neurological damage. That's what lead does. That's why we don't allow lead paint no more, allegedly. But if there's, there are a lot of lives that need to die. And even when I talk about Tuskegee, and I put that in the title because, we're going to have to talk about this. And I'm not going to go into any depth with it, but we're going to have to figure something out. Because do for selferism in terms of we can do it ourselves, we're going to build our own city. That's one lie. We have to figure something else out too. Like I've been seeing And we can talk about this on the call, but don't give me no loony calls. Just talk regular. Talk normal. We know what happened in Tuskegee. There's a book which some people have been asking about medical apartheid in terms of experimentation on ADOS people. So we can there is an absolutely understandable anxiety among ADOS people when it comes to dealing with people in healthcare, whether it's the government or whoever, from Tuskegee to all of that stuff, to the experiments from slave owners, all of it. But we are going to have to, at some point, ladies and gentlemen, have a come to Jesus meeting about what our standards are going to be. Because I don't even talk about something being conspiracy. I talk about unproven theories most of the time, like it's unproven. But we can't just be, on one hand, we are afraid for a reason. On another hand, we just can't be kind of out of pocket and say that like we're never going to get tested for COVID because we're afraid of what's on the Q-tip. We have to find some kind of cohesive middle ground. Now we can debate about what that looks like and what the standard or barometer is for us to access that kind of health care. We can talk about it. I'm not opposed to that. What I'm saying though is we have to figure this out. See, what I realized we've been kind of doing, I'm going to get into this on another show, because this isn't the first time this has happened. You know, people said we were immune by melanin, and now they say they're going to come into the hood and they're going to test us and give us something, and then they say, well, they're going to come into and they're going to force us the vaccine, and it's going to, it's a lot of conversations going on, right? And I think we got to figure this out. We have got to figure this out. I'm just talking about testing on the first level. Well, I'm not even at the vaccine yet. I'm just talking about testing. Because the first thing was we were upset because they weren't testing our communities. And we weren't having access to tests. Only rich people had access to tests, and people who had money, and the tests were in affluent neighborhoods. And then when the test came to our neighborhoods, a lot of people were like, well, I'm not going to take it. You know, and I totally understand why we don't trust. Part of the reason we don't trust is because we don't have enough people in there. We don't have enough of our people in there. We don't have enough of our nurses and doctors and healthcare professionals in there. When we see, we're like, okay, what's up? I know him. That's homeboy. He a nurse over there. He stay right over there. He cool people. So we don't have enough trust because you didn't let enough of us escalate to that point. I totally understand that. So we got to figure out what we do and how we approach this situation. I'm not even giving any kind of answer. I ain't talking about the vaccine yet. Somebody said I'm not talking about the vaccine yet. I'm talking about the test. Like, how do we get to a point where, or what needs to be the standard? We have to figure out what the standard is, because we have to figure out a way to gauge whether or not it's in our community. So we have to figure that out, because what's happening now, they say, like, it causes blood clot. So you could die of a blood clot, and somebody says, oh, they died of a pulmonary embolism. And you be like, oh, they just died of an embolism. It's all right. And you don't know they died from COVID. But the COVID done caused something that made them die. And so it gets undercounted in our communities. And we don't get the resources we need in our communities because it's undercounted. So there are a lot of offshoots of not testing. But then the question becomes, a lot of people are like, well, how do I know who to trust in my community? The only thing I'm saying right now, and I'm thinking about it, but we have to figure this out. We have got to figure this out. And what a lot of people like to do is just throw poo at the wall. No, we have to have some type of barometer, some kind of way to figure this out and have it to where that something has to be. We can't just like not do medicine no more because of what everybody has done to us. But then we can't allow that stuff to be done to us again. It's a conundrum. All I'm saying is that we got to figure out. And I'm thinking about it. We're going to get to it. But we got to figure it out. That's what I'm saying right now. And if you all have any ideas about how to figure out or what to do or how we do it, I would love to hear them in the call. But we have to, our response, we have to be able to verify. Our response can't just be, well, I'm never going to do X, Y, and Z. Our response has to be, well, we have to figure out how to do this safely for our community. And we have to be able to entrust people to kind of do those things and verify certain things, whether those are ADOS doctors or technicians or or academics. We have to be able to, some kind of way, we got to figure this thing out, because we have to be able to be healthy. And we have to be able to gauge when there are viruses and different things in our community, and just kind of ignoring illness. That's what we've done. Because of everything that's happened to us, we just ignore illness. Whether it's high blood pressure, you get dizzy, you drink vinegar water, and you just get back up. We have to be able to figure this out. And we're going to work through this. And this is not my last time talking about this, but I just want to put that out there, so that you all can think about that as well. And think about, how do we get health care without having to worry about the things happening to us, without history repeating itself. So I just want us to kind of think tank our way through that. And I'll be back to it as well, but I want you to know we're going to have another conversation about it, right? So that when I come back to it, you come back to it with your thoughts and answers too, and we can group think this and think tank this thing out. Anyway, fam, we're about at that time. I am going to go to break. Give me about 3 or 4 minutes. I'll be back and we will have the conversation. Okay, fam, we are back. We are back. I am going to the phones. So, fam, please keep it concise. Please keep it concise. We would appreciate it. Everybody wants to have their chance to have the conversation. I am going to 301. I am coming to you. 301. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yeah, this is D from Upper Marlboro in the DMV.
What's going on, D?
I've called before, I've talked with you before. Just listening to you at times, I'm hearing this whole do for selfism, and it comes across sometimes disingenuous. And I don't understand why there's this push and why we can't do both of economic development and ask and push for policies specifically for black folks. That's one thing. Another thing I'd like to just my personal critique or constructive criticism towards your program and that your broadcast. I just wish you would at times just stop bringing up boys. Just please don't even mention his name.
Well, you see, let me tell you why I do. Let me tell you. No, I'm gonna let you finish.
Go. A scorned girlfriend. I think happened between y'all.
I'm gonna let you finish, fam. Just let me say one thing. I'm gonna let you finish. Nothing happened between us. And I think you're saying scorned girlfriend because I'm a woman. I don't think if I was a man you would say that. I think you would just say. I think you would just say y'all had beef. I think if I was a man, you would just say, "What's the beef?" And you would still be wrong, but you would. I think you would say it differently. And I think that's problematic, even in terms of how we're having the conversation.
I think if you were a man, you wouldn't be so emotional either. So
no, it's not. But I'm emotional about everything. Why do you think it's just boys? I'm emotional about black politics.
I agree.
I'm emotional about. You should be emotional. Was Malcolm X emotional when he talked about black people?
Listen to me. There's nothing wrong with you being emotional, but I'm just saying you don't always have to bring his name up.
But I do what I want to do. Like, see,
I know.
But let me tell you what.
Constructive criticism.
That's fine, but I think it's a little kind of, something else is there. But let me just say this. I bring him up because he's still around. Like, y'all should have got rid of Boyce a long time ago. And I don't know, and I'm not talking about you in particular as an individual. I'm talking about the community. As long as he's still here, telling black people basically to go outside, that COVID is not a big deal, I'm going to criticize that. As long as he's still here, making money off wild aspiration, I'm going to criticize that. Like, I don't know Jay Morrison from a can of paint, and I bring his name up too. Because I think there are...
My point is, I think you can do it indirectly without necessarily bringing their names up.
Yeah, but why do that?
Because in my opinion, to a degree, you are giving them some type of attention and just by bringing their names up. I think you can kind of lead to that point without having to say the name. Well, like I said, it's constructive criticism.
Well, I think you can, but the thing is, like, I think, listen, this is what I used to kind of try to do that. And see, what happened when I did that, and I just talked about wealth in general. I used to just talk about wealth in general. Boys started taking a lot of shots. Well, these negative naysayers, these whatever. And so now I think it's just time to just be clear and just be honest about who we talking about. Like, I tried to do that and just talk about wealth, and people started taking all kind of little sub shots or whatever. So now, listen, let's still, and then people were also like, well, Yvette, was you talking about so-and-so? Was you talking about this person before I even knew who Jay Morrison was? So listen, let's just call a name a name. I don't want nobody to have to wonder, were you talking about boys? Were you talking about Jay? Were you talking about this? I want to just call a spade a spade. I ain't got nobody to hide from. I'm not scared of none of these people. I want to just call a spade a spade. I don't want to make anybody wonder and think I took a shot at them and it was a shot at Boyce, it was a shot at Tariq or whatever, or a criticism or whatever. I want to just be upfront and honest about who I'm talking about.
Okay, that's fair. Like I said, just constructive criticism. Everything I just said, I think we can do those two things at one time.
Okay.
Meaning politics and economic development within our community.
Well, I've never said we couldn't. I've always said that there's no black business without black politics.
It comes across when you say that, when you call it do for selfism. So if I'm a person who I own my own practice, be it a dentist, lawyer, or whatever, I'm running my own business. I mean, it's sounding like that's a bad thing.
No, I've always said there's no black business without good black politics. And there's no black business without black politics. That's what I've always said. And hold on, let me finish. I'll let you finish that thought. Let me finish my thought, and then you have your thought. That's how we're gonna talk. See, what I have said during this whole show, if you listen to the show, I said that these people that I'm talking about should be advocating for black business because that's their forte. So I don't understand how you take that and then say, well, you must not like black business. No, I'm telling you that the people who say they support black business, this is their moment. My moment is black politics, and I say there's no black business without good black politics because everybody's lobbying for black business right now. And I mean for business right now. And you need to have people on Capitol Hill advocating for you, and you don't have that. What I'm saying is that this is the moment for black business advocates to be on Capitol Hill. I don't know how you interpret that to be like, well, you sound very anti-black business. I don't know how that gets interpreted that way. But I'm gonna let you have the last word.
Okay, well, what I was saying, and I'm not necessarily saying that you don't advocate, but I'm saying it comes across. That's the key word I said. It comes across. And the way how I call it, do for selfism or whatever that term is. Yeah,
because
I
absolutely.
You some of the criticism of the Boyce Watkins or the ones who come across as selling some kind of get Rick, some old Ed Norton and Ralph Cramden scheme or something like that. I get that. But I'm saying we can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time.
I never said we couldn't. I've always said we can. I've always said we can, but we don't. I've always said that we can, but we don't. See, do for selfism is the idea that you don't need politics, you don't need government. That's a lie. Nobody believes that. So when I say do for selfism, it's stupid. I'm saying that that's a stupid ideology that only these ADOS snake oil salesmen believe in. Nobody else. Every white business person, every white multinational has a lobbyist on Capitol Hill for a reason. So when I say do for selfism is stupid, I mean that. That's not anti-business. That is anti the idea that business does not need good government and that government does not pick winners and losers because it does.
Okay, like I'm just saying, it's constructive criticism. Just it comes across that way to me. Now, maybe I'm not the only one who feels that way, or maybe I am. I don't know, but that's not constructive criticism. Like I said, I may not agree 100% with some of the things you say, but I've talked to you before, so there it is.
All right. Well, you have a good evening. You have a good evening, and I appreciate the call. I just disagree. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. I just disagree with the call, and I disagree with this whole idea. Like, listen, here's my problem with the. Let me just go to the beginning of the call. Let me go to the beginning of the call real quick. This idea that like you're like a scorned girlfriend or something like that. I do think that is sexist. I'm sorry, because Umar Johnson and Tariq Nasheed went at each other forever. And nobody said, well, y'all just acting like scorned boyfriends. And their stuff was personal. I don't have a personal beef with Boyce. He did what he did. He is what he is. That's not my issue with him. My issue with him and where we started, like I walked away. My issue with him is like, why do you keep pushing something? Why do you keep pushing do for selfism? Why do you keep conning ADOS people? Why do you keep trying to make a bank off of this? And so that's like, I'm going to always criticize that. Like this idea, well, you didn't say that. You wouldn't say that to Umar Johnson. You wouldn't say it to Tariq. I mean, mess with me if you're bad. If you say, yeah, I said that to them. When they were going at each other, I said it to them. No, you would just say it to me. Don't say stuff to me you won't say to your mans. Don't say stuff to me you won't say to them other dudes. When they go at each other. How long did Tariq and Tommy Sotomayor or whatever go at it? Did you go at them and say, y'all sound like scorned boyfriends? No, and their stuff was personal. I don't have a personal, I don't sit around having personal grievances with people. If he let this stuff go, when I knew Boyce, he was doing politics. If you let this do for selfism go because it's damaging and it only enriches you. If you would have let that stuff go, I let it all go. I'll move on. But I'm not going to leave this alone when I see something or someone who is damaging the ADOS community, who I think didn't used to always be that way, who I think when they started out with good intentions and saw a bunch of money and went left. No, I'm not going to leave it alone. And you don't get to call that scorned wife, girlfriend. No, that was not me and Boyce was cool. We worked together. He said, I'm going to do a Huffington Post for black people. That's how we came to know each other. It ain't got nothing to do with all that little soap opera stuff y'all think of in y'all head. That's not how this life works. At least not for me. I could care less. Anyway, going to the next call. I am going to 213. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Hey. Uh-oh. Did something happen to her phone? Oh, she done fell off the line. Going to where am I going next? I'm going to 773. 773. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, John from Chicago.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Chicago.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing of that. Just listening to you. And the only thing I can say this evening is something that you talked about for years, something that you and Tom have talked about for years. We are not a charity case.
Mm.
You know, these celebrities, people that you're speaking about, believe that charity will ultimately solve the problem for ADOS.
Mm.
And you know, and I know, and they know that it won't. Because if charity could do something, Flint would have been had new infrastructure.
Mm.
Lyles County, Alabama would have been had new infrastructure. The only entity that's large enough to fix the issues that's going on with the ghettos of the United States and all of those outlying areas in Mississippi, New Orleans, and all across this country is the government.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we have people talking about, we don't want government. I listened to a woman today, I don't want no handouts. But no one else says that.
Nobody.
Everyone is taking the money. They run
You be a fool not to. You be a fool not to. Please.
You damn right. You damn right. You better get all that you can while you can, because at the end of the day, as I always state, if we don't get reparations done in this country ASAP, we're finished. Our children, beggars in the country of their birth. And some of us right now today already. I mean, it is crazy. I don't think that they need a good dose of Yvette Carnell or a good dose of Tone Talks, because we have stated over these years, and that redlining is happening in charity now.
Mm. Mm.
The billionaires,
they call it philanthropic.
You know,
what did I think Dr. Cosby calls it? Philanthropic redlining.
Absolutely. Philanthropic redlining. I've been watching, I watch for years, and I keep up. And the only thing I could do mostly is regurgitate what I hear, because I'm learning so much just from listening to you guys. However, you know, if charity was the solution, things would have gotten taken care of years ago. But it is not the solution.
Absolutely.
It will never be the solution. The only solution is reparations for American descendants of slavery. I wish people would get it. It's not American descendants of slaves.
Yes, slavery as the institution.
The institution.
Absolutely.
Because everything that happened to us. You know, I listen, and there's this pathology coming from celebrity and people in government that somehow we're our problem, as if we did this to ourselves, when everything that has happened to us. No one would choose. Who would choose to live like this? Who do you know would choose to live in food deserts?
Nobody.
What person do you know would choose to live where they don't have trauma centers near where they live, with the exception of one, Cook County Hospital? What rational person would choose to live like this? I just simply don't get it. I don't get it. I'm trying. And I called, and I'm glad I hung in there because I got through, but you guys mean everything to me.
Thank you, fam.
everything, man, because you turned on a light that's hard to turn off, you know, and we have to be the voice of this thing. We have to scream at the top of our lungs because the squeaky wheel gets the oil. We cannot sit back and act as if somehow people are just going to give us our due. Because they aren't. If we don't say nothing, they got a whole new working class of people that's willing to work for cheap and don't mind being used and have stepped over us, on us, around us to get where they are, and we're still trying to form coalitions. And I don't understand that there is no black-brown coalition.
No.
At some point in life, and I know that there are other callers, and I'm going to get off the phone, but at some point, American descendants of slavery have to be selfish and become self-interested. It is not wrong to want to, man, take care of yourself. Put you first.
Especially, it's not like we're elite and we want to take care of ourselves. It's like, no, we're on the bottom, and you're basically just forcing us to be a doormat to everybody, and like we don't have any upward mobility. No, I'm not doing that. Like there's nothing. Like it is survival. At that point, it's survival to say I'm not doing this anymore. You have to say no for your own survival.
This is true, Vet. This is very true. And if we don't, there are plenty of people that's going to line up to have lobbyists in Washington, D.C. getting the money.
Yeah.
As we just seen with this past stimulus package.
Yeah.
You know, the big businesses have lobbyists down there in the United States. Where's Paul Anderson on this? Now, you're right. Where are these great business minds at on this situation right now? Because I'm not seeing anyone. I'm hearing the silence of the people in the lynch mob crowds. They cheered, but their silence was deafening. Because everyone that was in those lynch mobs, as they were doing these things to black folks, they knew it was wrong and said nothing.
And you are exactly right, fam. But you know, I was just thinking of something else. You know, I don't know where Diddy or Oprah, any of these people have their bank accounts. But do y'all remember the stuff we was talking about last week about how the banks, if you were a smaller account, they didn't deal with you? I mean, I would be interested to know, like, how did you all help, like, small black business owners who had an account where you bank, because you had a big account and they're going to listen to you? Like, how many of you helped Oprah or Diddy? Did y'all help usher through people, small black businesses who were trying to get their accounts through, but they don't have a big account like you have a big account? Were you all helpful in that way at all? Like, what capacity were you all helpful in the area where you can be helpful? Like, it's a lot of questions I have. But I'll let you have the last word, man.
Thank you, Yvette. No one did. I could speak this personally. I have a business account with Bank of America since 2017. I just started getting phone calls from officials with Bank of America because I sent out some scathing emails about the second party companies that they had uploading information so that you could get all of the information. I mean, I literally had to send out emails because I mean, you guys do my payroll. You guys do everything concerning my business. All of my money comes through Bank of America, and when it was time for things to get done, all I got was a runaround. I'm like, why are you using a second party when you have my account? All you have to do is look. You can get all of my information from ADP, all of my information from everyone that you need to get it from. Yet I have to go through a company that's not taking me serious. Every time I send an email, we'll get back to you in 24 hours. And I hear from no one. And so now I'm hearing from people from Bank of America, but still, they say it went through the day. Hopefully things will get done. But what they're saying, Yvette, is honestly, if you have 10 employees, we'll look out for each one for $1,000 a week. And if you pay them for, but if I'm my only employee, they are not going to give me $10,000. They're willing to give me something, but not what people are being led to believe.
Okay.
And I'm telling you this from personal experience. Love you, sister.
Love you back, fam. I appreciate the call. It's yeah.
All right.
Thank you, fam. Yeah, ain't nobody looking out like that. And I like to hear, like, we have had a few calls from actual business owners who are like, yeah, I put my paperwork through. Remember from the lady last week to the gentleman the last show, like, and they're basically talking about what they're going through. Like, these are people who are talking about, like, I got the runaround. This happened to me. Like, you have to, because we don't, even if we have a relationship with the bank, it's not long standing or we're not a big enough account. Like, and there's nobody here in this space. From all this talk about black business, my criticism is that there's nobody in this space kind of advocating. We brought the Urban League last time. Where's everybody in this space, like, helping these? Because what only thing you're going to do is you're going to wipe out black business. Because I've seen a lot of small white businesses going to be wiped out. Like, what do you think's going to happen to us? And I don't see any advocacy, like, amongst the people who have been lauded for years, for decades, over being, like, these great business owners. So anyway, I'm going to my next call. I'm going to 617. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, it's Reggie from Boston.
Hey, Reggie, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Listen, I have some comments about the medical thing, but I wanted to go back, and I hate to belabor this. I wanted to go back to that first caller. Okay. I really feel like some of the black men in this economic and black empowerment space, not all of us, because there's a lot of solid men in the ADOS movement, but in this black empowerment space, there really needs to be some work, or some internal work. Because to just come out and attack you as emotional or the scorned girlfriend, and you ain't got nothing to say to Tone, I could understand if it was like, I feel like the ADOS movement or you and Tone are a little bit too emotional, but he comes to focus on you. It's like, oh, why you got so-and-so's name in your mouth, where someone like Tone, rightfully so, is passionate and constant in that drumbeat for criticisms of Diddy, of Jay-Z, of Jay Morrison. Yep. Like, and he won't let up. But you don't call Tone emotional, but the first thing you do, Yvette, you're emotional. And if you look at a lot of the men who call themselves leaders in this black empowerment space, I would argue that you, Yvette, along with Tone, are the most measured, thoughtful, logical people in this space. If you look at a Boyce Watkins, one day Boyce Watkins is selling crypto, and then he's buy this stock. He's jumping from idea to idea, from trend to trend, and then here comes Tariq Nasheed of the B1s. It's bed winches every other word until reparations trending, and all of a sudden I'm reparations. And then when they get knocked off their square, they're back to bed winches and butt breaking and mink slide. Whereas you and Tone, and specifically, you Yvette, since you were the target of this, you have been among the most measured and consistent, thoughtful, logical people in this space. We don't do nothing but data. And in terms of when we're talking black business and, we can walk and chew gum at the same time, my retort would be, I don't feel like these people in the space are walking or chewing gum. And even if you're chewing gum, you're not walking into the halls of power and advocating for black business. But you know who is advocating for black business? If you were involved and engaged with people on the ground, you would know that people in chapters from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast, to the South, to the Midwest, understand that when we are talking about black business and us being undercapitalized, and you're talking about single member LLCs. You're talking about sole proprietorships. You're talking about the people being the owner and the employee, with that being, over 90% for black people, up to 98% for black women, where the owner is the employee and we're cut out of the stimulus. If you were connected to us, you would know that the ADOS movement is the premier advocate for black business, because we understand what black business means in this space.
Yeah.
I really don't know, what this guy is talking about. You have been consistently on the square. And as far as the Diddy thing, I totally agree with you on that, and I also feel, and you've kind of seen the exchanges, but I feel like the Congressional Black Caucus and the punditry and the activists have all been kind of speaking to us as if we are children, as if we are uninformed children. We got to save ourselves. Any other demographic, any other person that they're talking to, well, here's the plan. Here's how I'm advocating. But for us, we got to save ourselves. BBC says, oh, you got to stop with the house parties. But the Hispanic caucus says, here's the data. This is what we need for the Latino community. The Asian and Pacific Islander caucus says we have to hold ourselves accountable to make sure we get the correct information out to our constituents and to America, so that there's no violent blowback against our constituents because of misinformation. But here comes the Black Caucus talking about stop playing basketball, get out the house party, when there's no advocacy.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's linked, because a lot of these politicians are kind of moving like celebrities themselves, and how they're moving kind of mask our failure as well. But I just wanted to end with the question that I called for in terms of the medical questions. And I'm reminded, I believe you said it, Yvette, and other people may have said it, that you're only as smart as the questions that you ask. And I feel like when we're talking medicine or testing or treatments, it's incumbent upon us. I think the thing that we need to do in this space, and I'm speaking, as the son of a doctor, my dad, he's been a doctor for 40 years in his state. He ran the medical association. Not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that this is the lens that I'm coming from, and I'm also coming from the lens of, a black man who has had to advocate for himself, knowing that the medical community has no idea how to deal with black men or black women, but black men in particular, in terms of health, in terms of mental health. And just a quick personal story about me in terms of the questions that you asked. Years back, I was looking at different medications for depression, and one of those that there was this random doctor that I went to, and he wanted to throw out this new antidepressant. I said, oh, well, this just came out. I'm going to write a prescription for this. And I'm like, hold on. How long has this drug been out?
Yeah.
What are the results of clinical trials? Well, are there side effects? What have been the results of these? And those were questions that particular doctor did not really have answers for. So you have a good doctor or a good advocate or nurse practitioner when they're willing to engage in the questions and just like you and Tone point to the data. Here's the data, here's the information, here's the resource. If you are coming across someone who can't point you to that, or to actually say, because sometimes doctors don't know, to say, I don't know enough about this. If you can't find someone within the healthcare field that can be that straight with you, you have a problem. So I think that maybe as we have this discussion that can be a way to kind of guide us through this, to where, just like when we talk politics or anything else, that is based on the data. Here's this study. Here's the side effects we found. Here are the doctors I talked to. More than one. Get that second opinion if you can. But I bring it back, and you said it so brilliantly. You're only as smart as the questions that you ask. Don't talk to me about microwaves and Bill Gates. Your arms are too short to box with Bill Gates. Talk to your doctor. Figure out what's going on. Let's have the discussion with us. Let's share the peer-reviewed articles. Let's look at the CDC data. Let's talk to our doctors. Let's share stories with each other. I'm reminded of something Friday Jones. Shout out to her. And I won't be too long, but she was talking about how, like, when you go to the doctor, if they're refusing to give treatment for whatever reason, just be like, okay, if you're going to refuse the treatment, can you go ahead and put that in the file that you said this is not necessary, so that as we move along on this path of treatment, that's documented. Some of them will switch up real quick. And Sister Friday, that's not the only one that I've heard it from. So, I mean, again, that's a smart question. You are only as smart as the questions that you ask. But I've taken up enough time. I appreciate you, Yvette.
Thank you, Reggie.
I appreciate you doing data over everything.
Appreciate it, fam. Like Reggie always said, if you don't deal with the data deal with you. So appreciate it, Reggie. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling in. I think we have to do that. And I think we have to, like he says, sharing the peer review articles. I think we have to kind of put ourselves in a space where we kind of do our own investigation. And it's not that we should have to do that. I mean, we've been doing that to some extent, where COVID is concerned. And I saw something there about the flu and the flu vaccine and the interaction and COVID. I mean, we have to do that. But what we can't do is go either way, right? We can't be just like, just take whatever. And we can't go the other direction either. Like, don't let them come up in your hood. And it's just like, no, we have to have a smart response to what is happening. Like, we have to be smart. And I did say that. I said, you're only as smart as the questions that you ask. And I also said, you're only as smart as the ideas that you run up against. And the ideas that you run up against will come from those journals. They will come from those articles. They will come from conversations with people like Reggie talking to Friday, or whoever you talk to. It will come from that. And I think, whether you talk about me and my interaction with Boyce or whatever, I think the best way to describe me is tenacious. No, if I think you're doing something wrong, I'm not going to leave it alone. I'm not going to leave you alone. How many times have I criticized Oprah? I don't know Oprah. I mean, you have to have a level of doggedness in this space. If you're going to do advocacy, you can't be like, well, people going to think something if I don't shut up. Like, I don't care what nobody think. Don't make me know, never mind. Anyway, going to the next call. I am going to the next call, family. Who am I going to? I am going to 424. 424, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Oh, that's funny. Okay, hello, can you hear me then?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. What's going on?
Okay, this is Samantha Angelique from ADOS Los Angeles.
Okay.
I'm calling because I had a friend reach out to me from Detroit. So basically what happened was they work at one of the casinos in Detroit. Mm-hmm. They ended up getting COVID-19, so they were sick. They went to one ER, they were turned away. They went to a second ER, they were turned away. The third ER in Detroit happened to not turn them away. He tested positive. And if it wasn't for them at the third one not turning him away, he would have died. If it wasn't for him actually getting the treatment, he would have passed away. And he still had it for over 30 days.
That happened to another man. I'm going to put it up. That happened. Yeah, not the first time, but go on. That's why I put it up. Go ahead. I think it's
in Detroit as well. And he told me he knows personally 6 people who have died, and all of them are under 40 years old. So when they say, oh, no, black people weren't taking it seriously and we just need to wash our hands, he was taking it seriously. He was going to work to support his wife and child. You know what I mean? He wasn't out here having parties and hanging out. He was going to work. And then when he saw that he was getting sick, he did what he was supposed to do and go to the hospital. And they wouldn't even treat him. Like I said, it took took up to him going to the third ER. And he even said after the second one, he was willing to give up. Like, if he wouldn't have pushed through, like, his 9-year-old son wouldn't have a father. So I think this, at this point, it's so frustrating, like, to see all these celebrities be like, oh, black people just weren't taking it seriously, and all you need to do is wash your hands. So we take it seriously, but we're having difficulties when we go to these hospitals, when we actually go and try to seek the help and treatment that we deserve.
Yeah. That was a man. I put up the image of the man who passed. But his father passed too. And see, the thing is, like, and nobody's talking about that. Like, nobody's talking about I went to a bunch of hospitals and I couldn't get into, and this is and people, the number of deaths in Detroit in this area too are high. Right? They have, like, I forget what the number is, but it's like the 6th highest county or something like that. But nobody's really talking about what the situation is. And then nobody, like, I wonder how many of these COVID deaths, I seriously wonder, like, how many of these COVID deaths have been treated as COVID deaths. Because when you talk about, I didn't get into the science of it, how many people are getting blood clots and, like, dying of the blood clot. Are you really going to go into the lung and see whether or not that one of the lungs had pneumonia? Like, are you really going to go into it? So, we take it seriously, but then people don't take us seriously. So we take it seriously and go to the hospital, but you don't have no room or whatever. You don't take us seriously. This, you diagnose us with bronchitis and send us home in the midst of a COVID pandemic. You are diagnosing us with bronchitis. Bronchitis means you have the symptoms. And bronchitis, let me say this too. Bronchitis, I got diagnosed with that one time. It's kind of a throwaway thing sometimes. If you got a cough that won't go away, bronchitis. That sometimes it's one of those things that doctors use to try to get rid of you. And so, but nobody's really talking about that. They're just talking about how we have to take care and not touch our face or whatever. But like the article I brought up a second ago, we are in these essential industries. We are at the grocery store. We're doing all the stuff that people do, but we're in contact with people. You're delivering the groceries, all that stuff. And it's just like, I agree with you. What's happening a lot of the times is that it's not just that like it's not that we're not taking it seriously. It's just like people aren't taking our symptoms seriously.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's just annoying because you see people being like, oh, this isn't a race thing. No, everything's a race thing. I'm sorry, white people, that you don't like to hear that, but it affects our lives on a regular basis. And just to see, like, for them just to be so dismissive, like, you see all these people fighting, like, oh, we need to open back up the country. Okay, well, you want to fight for your employees to come back and work while you sit at home, but we're the ones that are out on the front lines who are actually working and getting sick. So I just wanted to throw that in. I'm going to let other people call in, but like I said, I'm so frustrated at these celebrities, like, oh, black people just didn't take it seriously. Okay, say that to the people. Like, I live in Los Angeles. They had to close down the trails for people to stop hiking because they were so crowded. They had to close down the beaches because white people wouldn't stop hanging out at the beach and playing volleyball. So don't tell me, like, black people weren't taking it seriously when I live and see a bunch of white people who weren't taking it seriously either. But when they go to the hospital, they get treatment. When we go to the hospital, they send us home.
Well, not only that. Not just California. They opened the beaches back up in Florida, and everybody
I saw that.
Ran back out there.
Florida, Georgia, talking about opening back up on the 1st. So for all people who can afford to stay home, when they open these cities back up, sit in the house. Like, I live in Los Angeles. When this first happened, like, there was nobody on the road. Now, if you go out or go anywhere, especially out to get groceries and stuff for my grandmother, now when I go out, there's all this traffic and all these people. When they open this stuff back up, if you can afford to stay home, or even if you can't afford it, if you got enough food stacks, sit in your house. Let these other people get sick and be crazy, because they don't care. So we need to just be worried about ourselves.
Yeah, do what you can. Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. And if you can,
have a good one. Good night.
You too. Good night. Listen, I understand that a lot of us can't. You gotta go, but if you can, stay. If you can't, I get it. But you still gotta be careful. You still gotta wash your hands. You still gotta maintain distance. You still gotta do everything that's within your power. We live a life where a lot of stuff ain't within our power, but every little thing that's in your power, you gotta take control over. That's just the way it is. So I'm going to the next call. I am going to 917. 917. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Brooklyn.
What's up, fam? How you doing?
Oh man, listen. much I wanted to say while I was on the call. I'm glad Reggie got a chance to call and he calmed my nerves because I was hot. But I definitely still, as an ADOS man and a follower of you and Tone, I definitely want to make sure I address that before we move any further. I know a while ago when I was talking to my Nigerian neighbor who's descendant of slave traders, I told him that all data outweighs stupidity. But I want everybody in the chat to know that all data outweighs sexism as well. And it also outweighs sucker shit. Excuse my language. But that caller, man, he was getting on my nerves with all his, he was hiding behind constructive criticism, but he came at you sideways because you're a woman with that emotional stuff. And what's crazy is most of his rebuttals and most of his constructive criticism was really tied to all of his emotions.
Yeah.
He was the one talking about, he knows that you said there's no black business without black politics, but instead of standing on that point, he wanted to come out with, it comes across that way. That's the same thing as saying it feels like.
Yeah, it feels like that. Like it's like you hurt my feelings. Like you made me feel a certain way about what I do, and that's not what I'm doing. Like, well, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We're not doing that. If we could do that, we would have lobbyists and be doing business. If we could walk and chew gum, we certainly would be doing it. I don't see us doing it.
Right, he's talking about walking and chewing gum at the same time, but he ain't walking away, he biting his tongue. He need to go sit down somewhere, and again, also, with the last point, before I move on from this, he was talking about, well, why don't you address them without saying their names? That's also some sucker shit. Like, that's some subs. Like, we don't do subs. We live and direct over here.
We go straight.
So we gonna call the name, we gonna name them, let them know who they are, and then we move on from there. So for D from Upper Marlboro and the DMV, that's not how we do things over here. So if you want to still continue to participate, you come back over here and you act right. All right, now that we got that out the way.
Yes, fam. Thank you.
No doubt. Sure. So anyway, yeah, I've been down and out for a little bit. As I told you from before, I'm an essential worker. And so I'm out there, and in addition to, I know Boyce was talking about, well, look how many people died, and that's the real issue. And since nobody's dying, it's not a big deal. But when you're out there as an essential worker, one of the things that weighs on your mind all the time is any little symptoms you might have, because they're not testing everybody here in New York, you immediately think, I might have it.
Mm.
And so the first sign of a scratchy throat, your nose is running, you got a headache, maybe a small fever, you start feeling hot. You don't know whether you need to sit down and lay down and not go to work the next day, or stay out there because you might have it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it takes a mental toll on you.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, we got about 80-something MTA workers dead. The official numbers coming out from New York City says that, black folks, ADOS, for us, we're twice as likely to catch it than white people. And throughout the city here, in addition to helping us, and this kind of ties into what Diddy's doing too, what upsets me the most is that whenever they reach out to give us help, whether it's legitimate or symbolic,
mm-hmm.
there's always a level of pathologizing to it.
Yeah, always.
And so, always. And so here in New York, they're talking about, okay, well, we want to social distance and do all the things, but it's an organization called Cure Violence. It's Cure Violence in New York. And I took a couple of pictures of the flyers. I'm going to post them up on Twitter by tomorrow. It's all these stereotypical pathologizing messages on their literature, where it's like, oh, don't pass the blunt to each other, and stand 6 feet apart during the dice game. It's some stupid stuff. It's like, but when you go into the white neighborhoods, in our neighborhood, they took the rims off the basketball court, but they didn't take down any tennis nets, any volleyball nets. All the white people are sitting in the parks working out. They arrested a group of black people in a barbershop in Canarsie, but nobody's enforced any of these social distance laws in the white neighborhood.
Mm.
And so it's a whole bunch of, so in addition to us being a bottom caps, which we already know, even the enforcement, as we already knew as well, I'm going to start calling you a Tone, Mr. and Miss Cleo, because y'all clairvoyant up in here.
Yep.
Everything comes down to race in this country. It just is what it is.
Yep.
And so, even the enforcement, and I want to close on this with about Diddy, and I'll let somebody else get on the line, because I know even though I ain't been on the wild coon, it's probably like, don't let me throw my shoe at you. So let me get off the line. But when in regards to Diddy and these entertainers, what we got to understand is that these people, they get paid to spit, especially Diddy, spit symbolisms and sloganisms over a beat to sell. So we got to understand that even when the music stops, they still spitting those same sloganisms and symbolisms for us to partake of. So I'll leave it at that.
You're right, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, as usual, for calling in. I appreciate that. I appreciate hearing from essential workers too, fam. Thank you so much, because that's absolutely important. Yeah, I'm gonna try to take a couple more calls before we get out of here. But yeah, that's absolutely important that we hear from our essential workers and stuff. Going to 336. I'm coming to you, 336. Stay away from the blunt. Don't pass the blunt. 336. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, I'm calling from North Carolina.
Hey, what's going on?
My name is LaVonna.
Hey, LaVonna.
I just want to let you know that I appreciate your show.
Thank you.
I appreciate everything you do. And I need you to stay on their necks. You need to stay on their necks. It's like they like that algae on the top of the water that makes the water stagnant. That's what they do. The celebrities and the voice and all those people on the internet. So keep doing that. I don't have a problem with that at all. As a matter of fact, you can talk about that on every show, really. That helps me. It helps me stay focused on looking into the data while you're talking about that to the new beginners, because that's what got me to watching you. I was like, well, what's she talking about? But it works. So keep it up.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it.
But I wanted to say how now that I've kind of evolved and know what's going on about the ADOS, it's like now is the perfect time to convince our coworkers, our family members, even more now through social media, to start looking at the data. I got to the point where I don't even share anything that's from a report, the media report. I actually go to the think tank website and follow their pages on Facebook, and I take their articles and I post that. I give them the data so they can see the positions that we're in America right now.
Straight to the source.
So I wanted to point out the key thing that can get a lot of our working class and the working poor people more involved. I actually let them know that the Republicans and the far-right people are literally trying to defund all federal programs down to the least thinking of the most they can do. And I let them know that they really want the state to start taking care of their own more than the Fed take care of their own. And when I kind of put it in that perspective, they kind of pay attention a little bit more, because they understand that if they take away SNAP, that means 10 people they know won't have enough money for food and housing and the different programs. So that actually do help a lot of people open their eyes to see what's really going on, how we have to start actually
how it impacts them, and their family individually, bringing the big picture down to the little picture.
Yes, and that really do work. It seems like it's starting to work even more, because I actually let them know. For the small little city I live in called Burlington in North Carolina, that the federals gave them I forgot the name. I'm kind of nervous too.
No, take your time.
They gave them for the I guess housing emergency funds for the pandemic. We only got $277,400 and something dollars. Out of all of that, we got $277,000. And I posted that, and a lot of people peeped on, and they was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's all you got." And I said, and keep in mind how many people who are networking and know all that. We are out the loop, so we don't really know how much funding that is and how much is already getting grabbed up before the people who really need it in my small town won't even touch it. So it's like those little little things like that, it really do help. So I was just letting all the Breaking Brown family know that.
Thank you, fam.
If you just break it all the way down to where it affects you and your clique, your family, and big people, they tend to want to know more and listen. I actually had one of my friends that I ran into trying to get toilet paper. She told me, she was like, "Lavonna, you ought to run for mayor." I was like, "What?"
you got a mind for politics. That's what she's trying to tell you. Shoot, she be knowing all the stuff.
She was like, "You care more about us than our own mayor." I was like,
"Well, that's a given. Well, that's a given. That ain't surprising."
Right. But that lets me know, just by me being behind my computer and my phone at work right now, or anywhere really, it lets you know that people do listen. So, just keep pushing, Yvette. Keep doing what you do, because it motivates me.
You too.
Me. And I do want to say one more thing about the, how they kind of make us feel like we're not doing what we're supposed to do. Let's be honest. I live in the hood. I'm around the hood a lot. Like you say, working poor people in the working class still live with people who don't have anything. Like, you can look down the street and see the project. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, they really do need to understand that they need to stop passing blood. They need to stop doing that, because I see that all the time. They still smoking, still playing games.
Well, let me just say this: there are gonna be some people, and it's not the only thing. They do need to stop doing that, but that's the only. I think the point the callers make is not a black thing. Just like we saw that, I saw a video of a bunch of white people at a farmer's market, and they was all close together. That's just an American. That's just a thing, and they do need to. I'm not saying they don't need to stop. They do. I'm just saying, like, don't make it about them being ADOS or them being black. But they do need to stop. But this whole period, let me just say this about a lot of people. What's gonna happen is that, you're gonna see a lot of people suffer like a consequence of like reckless behavior. Of like, they told you not to do it. Now maybe you be all right, because a lot of people are all right. They don't suffer no symptoms. They keep it moving. But we don't know what the difference maker is. Or you give that to somebody. Like I said a long time ago on this show, that in this era, reckless behavior, especially for ADOS, is going to have a real bad consequence. And we might see some of that here. But most of what we're experiencing isn't because of that consequence. And it's not an ADOS thing. Like, a lot of people are running around here. White people out here protesting with guns about, let us be back outside. And so it's not like, my whole thing is that not that they don't need to stop doing it, but just like, don't make this about ADOS. There's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff that they don't need to be doing. But I agree with you. Y'all can pass whatever y'all want to pass. Go ahead with it then. If you think, mess with me if you're bad.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing, Yvette.
Quickly.
I just want to let everybody know that you really can go to the White House website, the Treasury, all of those agencies. You can actually go on there, and they will let you know their budget, their funding, and what they're trying to cut. You can get all the information you can get from the website itself, and actually on the White House, you got to dig deep. But the White House, he has his whole budget and plan and agenda for 2019 and 20.
Okay.
And he even shows where they're going to start cutting even more in the Fed agencies. And a lot of that comes from what I read, because it shows, it's on there. Through the data, it shows it that a lot of paperwork is getting misdone. The personnel that works for the agencies are not completing their jobs, not following through, and they're losing trillions of dollars. Especially in the IRS, they losing trillions of dollars from the IRS. Okay. So when I think about that, I think about all our ADOS that actually work for those agencies. How they might start losing their jobs soon too.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Great call. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, absolutely. Gonna go to our last call. Going to go to the last call. I'm going to 404. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. So my name is Renee, and I'm calling from Atlanta. I am an essential worker. I'm a public health educator. I'm a health educator, at a major hospital here in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I want to say, first of all, I really encourage patients or anybody to advocate for themselves. If you are afraid of confrontation, bring somebody with you to the doctor, to the hospital, wherever, that will help you advocate for yourself. If you encounter people unwilling to help you, ask for their supervisor. If they don't give you what you need, ask for their boss. Everybody has something they have to answer to. And I agree with Reggie. Make people put documentation in your medical chart saying that they are refusing you certain service.
Let me ask you.
It is imperative.
Let me ask you a question, fam. Here's a question that I have in terms of people who are dealing with this individually. Let's say you have to go to the doctor, and like once you go in the back, right? Like there's nobody. We discussed before in the show. Like they're not letting anybody come with you because of the Rona, right? So you can't have anybody go with you. So like, what do you do once you're back there by yourself?
So something I encourage my patients to do. Okay, so let me give you some context. So my mom is a retired nurse.
Okay.
So my experience with doctors and the healthcare system was very different than most black people, or most people in general, not just black people. So at a very young age, I was taught how to take the authority between me and the doctor and like be very proactive at a young age. With my pediatrician, I remember me asking her questions, and it was always a healthy relationship. The doctors I have now are healthy relationships. To Reggie's point, I have asked my doctors questions, and when they can't answer, they're honest enough to say, I don't know enough research about that. Let me reach out to a colleague, or let me research that for you.
Okay.
But I tell people they are just people. While they do have higher education than us, they are still just people. They are giving you their best medical opinions, but it does not make them greater than you. So I think we as ADOS or any patient, you have to take this kind of God-like pedestal that we put medical providers on, particularly doctors and specialists. You have to take them off of that pedestal and treat them like you just talking to a regular family member. And honestly, I will tell anybody, the relationship you have with your healthcare providers should just be that, an extension of your family. And in my opinion, if you go to any provider that makes you feel uneasy, they don't want to answer your questions, find another one. Particularly when you live in larger cities, because you have a ton of people to choose from.
Well, let me ask you this question, fam. What if like you're in an emergency room setting? Because I have had to, in situations, check doctors who have behaved in ways that I have felt were condescending, right? So like, let's say, you haven't been able to choose your doctor. You're in an emergency room setting, and they won't let nobody back there with you because it's a COVID situation. It's an emergency room setting. I didn't pick this person, but we both here together now. How we going to play this game?
So I'm going to give you a similar situation. I had to take a family member to the emergency room some years ago.
Okay. The
family member was a younger person, and they had been hit in the eye with the object. So by the time we were seen, and this is at a private hospital, by the time we were seen, it was an older white guy who had an attitude. And I just had to tell him, the last I checked, you clocked in just like I damn do. If you don't want to be here, that's fine. Get the fuck out and go get
language, but go on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And I was younger then, so I was a lot less refined. And you know what he did? He came back in that room with a different attitude. And although I was in tears because I was furious, this black male nurse was like, good job for you, because he does a lot of people like that. But because you cannot be afraid to chin check these folks. Everybody has a supervisor. And quite frankly, I have had a provider when I was younger who I just told them, I don't want to deal with this person. They are being aggressive in my treatment. They are not being sensitive. If you don't have another doctor on duty, I'll come back, but you better get this person out of my face right now. And that's what they did.
Yeah,
we have to take that authority back. It may be hard.
Take that authority. Hold on, let me pause you. When people say something that sounds that we have to think about, I have to pause them and say this again. You said take that authority back. That is a very, 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 very deep statement. Take that authority back, because let me just say this, fam. Some people believe, and this is a belief of a lot of our elders too, when they go into the doctor, they believe that being nice and being deferential at the expense of everything gets them better care. Which for me, a lot of times, no, it gets you looked over. It gets you ignored when you just kind of like, well, he must know best, and I'm not going to say nothing. I don't want to be a bother. And we think, well, that's going to get me better care if I'm not a bother. And what really happens is that you get looked over and stepped over.
Particularly black patients, and I would advise anybody. So I'm black, I'm a woman, and I prefer black doctors, preferably black women, but I have a specialist who's an older black guy. I feel like I know him my whole life. Now, when you go into specialists, sometimes, most of the time, that's not a luxury because we aren't in those spaces. Those spaces tend to be older white men, but I tell people, do your research on doctors. I had to have a surgery years ago. I was all in the internet researching the devil out of this doctor, and when I had to go do some pre-op appointments, several people gave me their opinion unsolicited. Was like, oh yeah, you got one of the best doctors. Like, stop looking. They was like, he is highly acclaimed. So
yeah,
like playing nice will cost you your life. Black people can't afford it. Playing nice will cost you your life. This is not about you being like mean or confrontational, but you have to take that authority back. Look at it the same way you do when we go in some of these retail shops. These people work for you. In real life, they do. Whether you go into a public hospital and it's paid for by the taxpayers or whether it's coming out of your insurance, they work for you. They have to clock in too.
All right, fam. I appreciate that. I agree.
And I just want to say one other thing.
Sure.
Because I am an essential employee, well, initially when I got hired, I was told I was non-essential, but now that they are needing health educators and social workers and other support staff to be more touch points for patients, because we're not seeing people in clinic, we're doing more touch points by phone. Because that, I internalize a lot of secondary trauma. This may make some of your listeners uncomfortable, but I am one of those people who find my own stress release and mental and emotional health in the outdoor spaces. And on the weekends, I go hiking, I go early, and I go by myself, and I always have. And for the sake of my own mental and emotional health, that's just not something I'm going to ever give up because I understand the health consequences of being depressed. And I understand the generational and historical consequences that stress has on us as a people.
Absolutely.
And so I will just say people can take their own precautions, but nobody should. You can walk around your neighborhood and be at a safe distance. You should not stay in the house to the point where you are having a mental and emotional breakdown. And a physical breakdown, because the body is supposed to be a movement.
The body's supposed to move. No, you're right. And I think connecting. Thank you, fam. I appreciate that call. That was a wonderful call. Thank you so much. And I think that you are supposed to, I'm always an advocate of connecting with nature. I think there's something wonderful about that. And it don't cost you no money to connect and reconnect with nature. So I think that's always a good thing. So thank you so much, fam. I absolutely appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. She said something? But yeah, I think she's absolutely right. There's a lot of good points made by that caller. A lot of good points. And I do think you have to take back your authority. That doesn't mean, like she said, it doesn't mean being confrontational. But I think one of the things you have to do is just show whoever's the doctor or whoever that you are an informed patient. Like, they're used to uninformed patients. I'm just going to tell you anything. You're a number one. And I'm not saying that all these doctors, but the doctors are stressed too. It's not that they're all just bad or just like they're operating under a kind of racism that isn't always the kind of racism that's they don't even know it if they're racist sometimes. It's just like what they brought up into. You have to let, no, I'm not some knucklehead. I'm an informed patient. So let me ask you some questions. Like she said, like Reggie said. So I think that's a great point to end the call, fam. If I didn't get to you, I apologize. We will get to you next show. Before you go, fam, please hit that like button. Please share. please go to subscribetobrown.com and give me your email address and all of that stuff. Hit that bell if you have not hit the bell to get notifications. If you have not subscribed, you can go and subscribe. If you want to join the Patreon, patreon.com/ycarnell. You can do all of that stuff, fam. But please, more important than anything, finish your libation, but take care of yourself. Make sure that you keep yourself happy and healthy, and don't get too stressed. Don't worry about stuff that you can't control, and control what you do control. So, fam, for those of you who have to get up in the morning, please go to bed. Some of y'all already went to bed. Great. Get your rest, get plenty of liquids, and be as safe as you can be. Good night, fam, and breathe easy, breathe.